I'm Alessia, and at just 20 years old, I found myself sharing a story I never anticipated. As a sophomore in college, I was the quintessential student trying to juggle academics and social life, all while occasionally missing home. However, an unexpected phone call dramatically shifted my reality. Let me take you back to the start. 3 years earlier, when I was only 18, my father died unexpectedly, leaving just my mom and me in the home he had proudly built for us. Thankfully, he had left us financially secure, with savings and no mortgage. I believed we'd manage, just the two of us. My acceptance to an out-of-state college was a mix of joy and sadness. My mother encouraged me to pursue my dreams, believing it was what my dad would have wanted. So off I went, returning only for school breaks. Initially, everything appeared normal. Mom and I kept in touch through regular video calls, and she seemed to be coping well. Then, a few months ago, she shocked me during a call. "Alessia, honey, I've met someone," she exclaimed with unusual excitement. "His name is William, and we're getting married." The news of her marrying a man she'd only known for 4 months was a jolt. I tried to be supportive, but deep down, something didn't sit right. Despite my reservations, William moved into our family home, occupying the space that once belonged to my dad. I focused on my studies, trying to suppress the uneasy feelings creeping in. Then, everything came to a head with a disturbing phone call from Mrs. Stewart, our longtime neighbor. "Alessia, is that you?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. "Something strange is happening at your house. There's been a constant flow of people moving things out and new items in. And I haven't seen your mother in over a week." Frantically, I tried to reach Mom but got no response. Her phone went straight to voicemail, and after multiple attempts, it was disconnected. Panic engulfed me. I rushed to get emergency leave from college and caught the first train home, the scenery blurring outside as I frantically left voicemails for Mom. The train ride seemed eternal. When I finally arrived and approached our street, my heart sank. I trembled as I saw an unfamiliar car in the driveway of the house, where Dad used to measure my growth on the kitchen doorframe. Everything was painfully different, and I braced myself for what was to come. As I walked towards the house I grew up in, the flower beds that my mom had always meticulously maintained looked noticeably neglected. Nearing the porch, I saw a couple acting as though they belonged there. The woman was watering the sparse remnants of Mom's petunias, while the man tinkered with the porch light. "Excuse me," I called out, my voice shaky. "What are you doing at my house?" They turned, sharing a look of confusion, before the man responded. "Your house? I'm sorry, but we purchased this property a few days ago." He quickly went inside and returned with a folder, handing me documents. Everything signed and notarized. The seller was Catherine. "Is that your mother?" With trembling hands, I took the papers. There it was, Mom's signature on a sales contract dated just 3 days prior. "There must be some mistake," I murmured, disbelief clouding my thoughts. The couple exchanged uneasy glances. The woman, with a sympathetic expression, stepped forward. "Listen, we had no idea there was any problem. Everything about the sale was above board." I barely heard her as I dialed Mom's number again, heart pounding. This time she answered. "Mom, what the hell is going on? There are people here saying they've bought our house. Please tell me this is a mistake." "Alessia," Mom's voice was unsettlingly calm and detached. "It's my house. The deed was in my name, and I had every right to sell it. William and I are going abroad." The floor seemed to drop away beneath me. "Your house? Dad built that house for us. Where am I supposed to stay during school breaks? How could you do this without talking to me?" "Oh, sweetie," her tone now condescending. "You're an adult. You can take care of yourself. Your father left everything to me, not you." The will was very clear. My mind reeled as she continued. "I've sold the furniture and appliances. As for your personal belongings..." She paused, and I could hear papers rustling. "I've moved them to a storage unit. I'm texting you the details now." My phone buzzed with the text as the reality sunk in. The new owners, likely uncomfortable with the unfolding drama, went inside, leaving me alone on the sidewalk. I drove to the storage facility on the town's outskirts, a stark place of metal doors and concrete walls. When I lifted the door to my unit, the sight was heart-wrenching. My belongings were carelessly thrown inside, with no semblance of order. My books lay scattered, many damaged, and the scrapbook I had made with Dad was tossed aside, its spine broken. "No," I whispered, rushing to salvage a pile of photos from a trash bag. They were wrinkled and creased, some beyond saving. My clothes were stuffed into more bags, winter coats mixed with summer dresses, clean tangled with dirty. Beneath a pile, I found the teddy bear Dad had given me on my 5th birthday, now crushed under a heavy load. Standing amidst the chaos of my scattered memories, I felt the sting of tears as the gravity of Mom's actions truly hit home. When I retrieved the teddy bear, one of its eyes was barely hanging on by a thread. Shaking, I pulled out my phone and dialed Grandma, the only person who could understand. I spilled everything to her. The sale of the house, the chaotic storage unit, my sudden displacement. Grandma listened in silence until I had finished. Then, after a heavy sigh, she spoke with a tight anger in her voice. "That ungrateful daughter of mine," she said sharply. "Alessia, listen. Come to my house right now." "But my things." I started to protest. "We'll handle your things. I'm calling a moving company right now. They'll send over a mini truck. Just start gathering everything up, okay? We'll sort it out at my place." 2 hours later, I was following a small rental truck down the highway to Grandma's home in the next town over. She was waiting on the porch as we pulled up, enveloping me in a fierce hug the moment I stepped out of my car. We spent the day trying to contact Mom, but every call went straight to voicemail. Grandma's messages grew increasingly frustrated, but we received no reply. "Don't you worry about a thing." Grandma comforted me that evening as we sat in her kitchen, sipping hot chocolate like when I was a child. "You can stay here whenever you need, holidays, weekends, anytime. This is your home now." That night, in the quiet of Grandma's guest room, I made the mistake of checking social media. There was Mom, posting photos from a lavish resort in Europe with William, both of them by a pool, cocktails in hand, without a care in the world. My vision blurred with tears as I hastily blocked her on every platform I could think of. If she could discard our relationship as easily as she had discarded my belongings, then I could erase her from my life just as simple. The next years flew by in a blur of college classes, part-time jobs, and weekend visits to Grandma's. She was my rock, always there to talk about my studies or remind me to eat well. We chatted several times a week, and she never failed to support me. It was a normal Tuesday morning during my final year of college when everything changed again. I received a call from Mrs. Edwards, Grandma's neighbor. "Alessia, honey," her voice cracked. "Your grandmother had a heart attack last night. The paramedics tried, but..." Her voice trailed off. The world seemed to stop. I remember little about the drive to Grandma's town, only that I somehow made it. The house was just as it had been on my last visit, with her wind chime tinkling on the porch and her gardening gloves still draped over the railing. Handling the funeral arrangements was tough. People asked if I would inform Mom, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. The thought of seeing her, of dealing with her now, was too much. I knew that in a small town, word would get around. Someone would likely tell her. The funeral itself was beautiful, simple yet elegant, filled with Grandma's favorite flowers. As I stood there accepting condolences, it felt like the entire town had come to say goodbye. As I stood receiving condolences at the funeral, a tall man in a crisp suit approached me. "Miss Claire?" he said, extending his business card. "I'm Henry, your grandmother's attorney. I need to speak with you about her will at your earliest convenience." I took the card, a bit dazed. "Should we wait for my mother?" I asked, half expecting her to appear soon, likely to claim her share. Mr. Henry shook his head. "That won't be necessary. The will concerns only one person, you." The following day, I sat in his office, my emotions a numb whirl as he began to read from the will. "To my beloved granddaughter, Claire, I leave my entire estate." The words hit me like waves, leaving me more adrift with each sentence. He then handed me another letter, this one personal. My hands trembled as I opened it, the paper carrying the faint scent of Grandma's perfume. "My dearest Claire," it began, "if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer there to tell you in person how proud I am of you and how much I love you. I need you to understand why I've made this decision. When your mother chose to abandon you for a man she barely knew, it broke my heart. I had initially planned to divide my estate between the two of you, but after seeing her squander your father's legacy and discard the home he built with such love, I couldn't trust her with the inheritance I've spent decades building." The letter continued, "You, my sweet girl, have shown strength, resilience, and grace beyond your years. You've stayed focused on your education, just as your father wanted. I choose you, Claire, not just as my heir, but as the daughter of my heart. The house and all my savings, amounting to $410,000, are yours. Use them wisely to build the life you deserve. Know that wherever I am, I'm watching over you with love and pride. All my love, Grandma." After the funeral, the reality of my new responsibilities set in. I still had a year of college to complete, and Grandma's house couldn't just sit empty. Property taxes and utilities would pile up, and an empty house could attract trouble. After much consideration, I contacted a local realtor, Juliet, to manage renting it out. "I'll send you weekly updates," Juliet promised as I returned to college. "And I'll call immediately if there are any issues." The first couple of months went smoothly. Juliet found a nice young couple expecting a baby who signed a 1-year lease. I threw myself back into my studies, trying to focus on finals and job applications rather than the void Grandma had left. Then came a disturbing call from Juliet. "Alessia, we've had an incident at the house. A woman showed up yesterday, causing quite a scene. She was screaming that she was the rightful owner of the house, trying to break in through the back door. The tenants were terrified. They had to call the police." I closed my eyes, knowing what was coming next. "What did she look like?" I asked. "Middle-aged, well-dressed, but a bit disheveled, dark hair, about 5 feet 7 inches. "That's my mother," I said flatly, resignation sinking in. "And she's not going to stop." I was right. Within days, my phone began to explode with calls from unknown numbers. I ignored them, but the voicemails accumulated. "Alessia, this is your mother. Call me back immediately. We need to discuss the inheritance. You can't ignore me forever, young lady. Call me back or I'll make things very difficult for you." One by one, I blocked the numbers, steeling myself against the storm I knew was just beginning. Despite blocking her repeatedly, my mother kept finding new ways to contact me. This constant worry began to disrupt my sleep, and I would jolt awake at every buzz of my phone. My grades suffered as a result, and my professors could tell I was distracted in class. About a week after the troubling incident at the house, I was heading to my morning class when I heard a familiar voice call out, "Alessia." I froze. There she was by the student center, acting as if it was perfectly normal for her to be there. Her appearance had changed. Gone were the designer outfits, replaced by ill-fitting, off-the-rack clothes. Her hair, usually flawless, frizzed in the morning humidity. "I'll make a scene right here if I have to," she threatened loudly. "Is that what you want? Your mother screaming in front of all your classmates about how you stole her inheritance." People were starting to notice. The last thing I wanted was to become campus gossip. "Fine," I said through gritted teeth. "There's a cafe around the corner. 15 minutes. That's all you get." The cafe was bustling with the morning crowd, but Mom found us a corner table. I sat down, my bag clutched in my lap, poised to leave at any moment. "Let's cut to the chase," she began, without even a pretense of interest in how I was doing. "I know about the inheritance. I was her daughter, her only daughter. You're just the granddaughter. Obviously, this inheritance needs to be split between us, 60/40ths. It's the right thing to do, and you know it. Like how you did the right thing when you sold Dad's house." I retorted, the words sharp and bitter. "The house he built for us, the one that should have been half mine." Her face turned red with anger. "That was completely different. I was the owner, just like Grandma was the owner of her house." And she chose who to leave it to. This is not the same thing at all. I snapped back. Mom's voice grew louder, attracting glances from nearby tables. I will not let you steal what's rightfully mine. I'll sue you if I have to. Go ahead, I said, though my hands trembled under the table. The will is clear. She then switched tactics, her expression softening into a manipulative guise. After everything I've done for you, Alessia, I paid for your college education. I couldn't help but laugh. You never worked a day in your life, Mom. You transferred money from Dad's account to pay for my tuition, money he left for my education. How dare you? She slammed her hand on the table, making the cups rattle. You ungrateful little. I'm done here. I stood up, grabbing my bag. Don't contact me again. I pushed through the door, her stream of obscenities following me out onto the street. Several customers had their phones out, recording the scene. Great, just what I needed. Back in my dorm, I made the mistake of checking social media. Mom had already posted a novel-length rant. I never thought my daughter would betray me like this, she wrote. She manipulated my poor mother, turned her against me, and stole what should have been mine. My flesh and blood, conspiring behind my back. The comment section turned into a battlefield. Mom's siblings and cousins were calling me names and demanding I do the right thing. But Dad's family fought back fiercely. Catherine, we all remember how you abandoned Claire and ran off with that man, my Aunt Susan wrote. Sold Claire's childhood home out from under her and jetted off to Europe. Shame on you. A few more distant relatives and family friends tried to be the voice of reason amidst the chaos. The online quarrels escalated, with one commenter pointedly noting, "If you're so sure you have a claim, take it to court." Throwing accusations on Facebook isn't going to change a legal will. Despite this, Mom's posts grew increasingly dramatic. She portrayed herself as the victim of an elaborate conspiracy between Grandma and me, conveniently omitting the years of neglect and disinterest she had shown towards me. After graduation, I returned to Grandma's house, my house now. The tenants had recently moved out, leaving the place in surprisingly good condition. As I stood in the quiet living room, I could almost hear Grandma's laughter echoing off the walls. With the inheritance, I had the luxury to take a few months off before job hunting. The house needed some minor repairs, a squeaky floorboard here, a dripping faucet there. It felt good to busy my hands with these tasks, making the space truly my own. One day, while I was painting the kitchen, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but I thought it might be one of Grandma's old neighbors dropping by. I wiped my hands on my overalls and opened the door, only to feel my stomach drop. There stood Mom, a shadow of her former polished self. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, and her mascara smeared. "Alessia," she sobbed, barging past me into the house before I could stop her. "You have to help me. I have nowhere else to go." "What are you talking about?" I asked, staying by the open door to keep my escape route clear. "William left me," she wailed, collapsing onto Grandma's old couch. "He took everything. I'm broke, Alessia. I need a place to stay, just until I get back on my feet, and maybe alone." I stared at her in disbelief. "You've got to be kidding me. I'm your mother," she cried. "You can't just leave me on the street. Like you left me?" I replied, my words sharp and cold. "Like you ran off with William and all that money from Dad's house." She sat up straighter, wiping her eyes. "That's different. You were an adult already. You weren't going to starve, right? Because Grandma took me in. The same Grandma whose house you're now trying to guilt your way into. You don't understand." She was crying now. "William, he forced me to sell the house. He was controlling and manipulative. He bullied me into everything. I was a victim too." I pulled out my phone, opened her social media profile, and held it up. "Really? Is that why you posted this yesterday?" There it was, a photo of her and William at a fancy restaurant, his arms around her as she beamed at the camera. The caption read, "Date night with my soulmate." "And this one from last week?" I swiped to another photo, then another, showcasing her so-called miserable and bullied existence. Mom's face changed. The tears stopped instantly, replaced by a harsh, ugly expression. You little trash, she snarled, standing up. I should have had an abortion when I had the chance. You're nothing but greedy and ungrateful. Get out. My voice was shaking, but I held my ground. I never want to see you again. Ever. You'll regret this, she spat as she stormed past me. You're just like your father, selfish and… I slammed the door in her face, cutting off whatever cruel thing she was about to say next. Through the wood, I could hear her continuing to scream, but I was done letting her chaos disrupt my peace. I slid down to sit on the floor, my back pressed against the door, waiting until she finally walked away. The fallout from Mom's visit was predictable. My phone was soon bombarded with messages from relatives who hadn't reached out in years, all suddenly deeply concerned about poor Catherine and her troubles. Each day brought a new wave of guilt trips and accusations. Juliet reported Mom was crying herself to sleep. Cousin Margot texted long messages about family duties and Christian forgiveness, and Uncle Parker wrote an entire email accusing me of tearing the family apart. That was the last straw. I decided I had enough of being silently judged and misunderstood. I sat at my computer and began to type out everything. Every detail from the day she sold our family home to her recent attempts to manipulate her way into Grandma's house. I included photos of the storage unit where she carelessly dumped my belongings, screenshots of her lavish European vacation posts made right after she left me homeless, and, as the final blow, a scanned copy of Grandma's heartfelt letter. I posted it all publicly, determined to stop hiding and let the truth speak for itself. The impact was immediate. The guilt-tripping messages halted, and even Mom's staunchest defenders fell silent. No one could counter the weight of Grandma's own words. That was 7 months ago. Since then, I've completed the renovations on the house. Nothing too extravagant, just enough to make it truly mine while preserving the essence of Grandma that made it feel like home. I secured a good position at a local marketing firm and began laying down the roots of my new life. Through the family grapevine, I occasionally hear snippets about Mom. She's living in a modest apartment in the next state, barely making ends meet. William did indeed leave her, taking most of their assets with him. She's had to sell her designer clothes and jewelry and, for the first time in her life, is working as a retail clerk. Sometimes, while sitting in Grandma's garden on tranquil evenings, I reflect on how Mom might have envisioned everything playing out in her favor. She probably thought she could burn through Dad's money with William, secure in the belief that Grandma's inheritance would be there as a safety net. She lived in the moment, spending without a thought for tomorrow. One day, I found an old photo album in the attic. There was a picture of Mom holding me as a baby, both of us smiling at the camera. For a moment, I felt a pang of longing for things to have been different. But then I remembered Grandma's words. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. I closed the album and placed it back in the attic. Maybe someday I'll want to look at those photos again, but for now, I'm focused on the future, my future, built on my terms, in this house filled with memories of the people who truly loved me, consistently and unconditionally.